love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just give me up. To my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math. When I hate, I attack. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just give me up.
Alright, so this time you should be able to hear me. We shouldn't have an issue with me talking to myself for like 10 minutes. So let's get started and let's not waste any time. I know a lot of people were not expecting this live, so I know most of you will watch it later. So I'm gonna try and sort of make this a bit of a summary about the SPX because most people are really behind. I've been myself on some sort of a hiatus, if you will. I've been gone for a little bit. Not really. I've been behind the scenes working my ass off for and with the community. I just had a bit of a GPU issue, if you will, which I've ended up getting somewhat late. And so in the time being, when I was not really making consistent videos, I was hanging with my community on the Discord. Shout out to the community members, to all the new members, old members, everyone all together. You guys are awesome. Without you, the community would not exist. So yeah, a huge thank you. Before I forget that, so I'm about to drop in about like 40 minutes to an Academy members meeting, basically more of an advanced, in-depth look at the technical analysis of what we see in the market, discussions, Q&A, and all sorts of cool stuff. But before I do that, I thought it's going to be tremendously important for me to go over what it is that I'm seeing on the SPX, so everybody's going to be up to speed, all the people who are not in the Academy. Shout out to those who will join the live as is. I know you were not really expecting it, so no worries. So what have we seen in several sessions? Nothing really all that extraordinary. We've been moving up and down. Hi, Casey. Within basically a narrow range, nothing all that substantial. What was basically our ceiling wind is now being tested as our floor. We're roughly within slippage territory, if you will, want to call it as such. If you ask my humble opinion, we still are revolving around that 666 level, 6,666 basically. Of course, you can be meticulous and say 00 or 66, right? So the bottom line is that we are revolving with great volatility, and the more we're gonna sort of look outwards, the better we're gonna be able to see exactly how it is revolving around that level. Still somewhat excessive, but and I will be making a video within the upcoming days, hopefully during the weekend if everything is fine, and I will be presenting how did the market behave around the Fed rate cuts, and how did the market react, whether it's prior, post, and all of the above. So that we're going to see really the history and how the market truly behaved around these times, not when you're using, a line chart that is on a greater, sort of such a large scale of time that everything becomes almost invisible and not noticeable. Well, in reality, these events can cause quite a significant recessionary period and the market basically break. So let's look at what we are seeing on the market right now. On the 5 minutes, we can skip the 1 minute simply because it is just kind of redundant. Let's be honest. It's going to show us basically barely what it is that we're looking towards the end of the session, which probably is not going to be all that surprising. I would say arguably revolving around the very same high where we're at right now. Far more efficient to look at the 5 minutes and see whether it's actually going to endure or whether it's going to break down. We can start to see a little bit of a curvature right there, sort of indication of a loss of momentum. But so far, we're basically testing the very same high as before, so nothing all that surprising. This is the very same level. As you see, previously we've been rejected by that high, whether via generating gaps and then having to close these gaps, so to speak, momentum getting carried away, retesting the very same bottoms. As you can tell, these are the very same bottoms. You can even see the entanglement around this area on a more granular level, of course, visible in the 1 minute, but of course redundant, getting sort of caught on and stuck looking at these, focusing on these very smaller time frames will get you caught up and not realizing what really is going on. So 30 minutes, you see, and how the sort of the picture changes quite significantly. So as we look at our stochastic RSI, our momentum is significantly bearish. We know we have now a little bit of a gap to close right there. During the open of the session, we left a little bit of that gap. We have opened up with this gap roughly between 67.14 and 67.28, not a significant gap, but as you can see, not all of it was closed. There is a partition of the gap that was still left over, and so it's going to be highly expected to see that getting closed within the framework of the momentum that we were just looking at here on the 30 minutes. What are we talking about? We're talking about our K and D having convergence and subsequently divergence. Basically, the switcheroo act of bullish momentum giving way to our bearish momentum. Although right now, if we focus real close, real deep, so we are going to zoom in all the way through, we're going to realize that we have convergence again towards the bullish. But that range, that margin, that distance represents how very much equal the forces are about right now. And so this is oftentimes when we get that entanglement, the runoff of the bullish momentum, the dominance of the bearish momentum. As you can see, they're still moving back and forth. Again, given the very small time frame, it still is adjusting and sort of changing. And the more bearish momentum we're going to get on the smaller time frames, of course, the more it's going to print into this, subsequently resulting in downwards trend, or rather bearish momentum sort of the bullish momentum will give way to that bearish momentum, as we said, and start dragging the price action itself, convincing, so to speak, the bots, the participants, that now that this particular wave is all over with, and well, all the forces that can identify this will try to capitalize it as well. So 30 minutes, basically looking towards the end of the session. We're looking, if right now we are an hour and a half away from market close, right before the post market. So arguably we are looking, if not in the following, I would say 30 minutes, then in the following hour after that, somewhat of a change in the downwards pressure to potentially move towards that direction. Does not mean it's going to be a part of today's price action. It's far more likely to happen tomorrow. But we will still see somewhat of a potential deterioration towards the end of the session given this time frame. So 45 minutes, seeing the very sort of similar thing, but on a slightly larger scale. We basically are seeing how bullish momentum is giving way to the bearish momentum. So subsequently, it will result with the price action basically going, if you will, from a very steep upwards angle. As you can tell, kind of this is a very steep upwards angle, and this is becoming more and more shallow, more sideways, overall resulting in the sideways price action that we are expecting to see towards the end of the session. And then, of course, a breakdown given how this structure is looking like on the 45 minutes. And let's not all be surprised that we're seeing something very similar in the 1 hour. It's just, again, larger scale of the very same thing. The reason we do this is for it not to be so discombobulating, sort of jarring, moving from 30 minutes to 1 hour. We have an intermediate sort of time frame that gives us that smoother process, sort of smoother way of identifying the process, if you will. Now, so we're seeing something very similar, and given the time frame, again, we are looking, given that we have 1 hour and a half from market close, it sort of indicates the very same thing, that we still are somewhat bullish, but not enough to truly persist with that upwards direction, but rather flat it down. And eventually, if tomorrow or even this night, towards the night session, we might have bearish momentum that will result in a gap downwards, which is not great, as we understand and we already know and seen. The market will be highly enticed to close it, meaning to move up and waste more time. We call that waste of time because, you see, when you're hyper focused on this sort of structure and you are watching the market on a daily basis, it feels to you like the market is moving upwards. If you are then objective, you zoom out a little bit and you realize, well, the market actually been moving up and down within a very narrow range, and so we are basically moving sideways. We're basically flat, which is not that surprising. This is a narrow band of ranges that is within a larger band of ranges that we have. The upper edge right now is 6835.36. Do I forecast the market actually making it there? No, I don't. In fact, I do think we are still revolving, like I said, around the 666 level. And as you can see, sort of the attempts around these levels, and I would arguably say that we're going to be shortly seeing a breakdown of the price action towards that 6488.98. You may as well call it 6490 if you really insist, right? And that level, adjacent to that level, they're basically, again, a channel. You can kind of see the price action behaving and respecting these levels on our way up throughout September, basically, right? And as you can see, the momentum appears to be changing direction, and once it does, instead of having this flat trend, we're going to break back down into the trend that is right below us. We're basically within slippage range and respecting an internal level, a smaller time frame level. But once that is done with, which is potentially going to be in fact, this next down, the leg down that we're going to have right now. Maybe I should remove some of the junk because it's getting messy. So let me just clear up some stuff. All right, cool. So what we're seeing again is if we have this level right here and the resistance right there, given the amount of times that we already tested this, it's far more likely in my mind than given sort of the structure and the natural rhythm of the market to start seeing this breakdown downwards and maybe finalizing that head and shoulders structure that you can already see that is sort of coming together, right? 4 hours, what are we seeing? 4 hours, in fact, we already are at that median level at the center, basically the stochastic RSI. It does appear to be very bullish, so arguably so, that kind of contradicts what I just said. This, in fact, sort of implies, let me just remove all that junk so we're not going to get confused by it. This implies that, well, technically, it implies that potentially I'm wrong, and from here on out, instead of going downwards, as I've said, we will end up moving upwards, potentially towards that 6835.36. There are no nearby stronger levels than this. This is the strongest level nearby that we have. But I would argue that this thing can change on a whim. In fact, as we progress towards the weekend, right? I think this, given the nature of what we've seen already in the smaller time frames in the 4 hours, right? So basically, think about it: 4 candlesticks of 1 hour are basically all together 4 sticks make up our 4 hourly. So given what we've seen already on the smaller time frames and how it's going to become bearish, this will print, giving way to this changing direction, right, as we end, well, today's session and moving into tomorrow's session. And so potentially what I'm saying here is that Friday is going to be a little bit more bearish than it is bullish, giving way to bring us back down to the bottom of that range. And next week, potentially, we're going to see some more entanglement, or if not, already a directional breakdown towards that level right here, which is roughly around, what is that, 66,000. Given how close it is, of course, we're going to get entangled and test our 666 level. That is sort of somewhere around this area. So as you can see, there's almost this gradual descent. It's not going to be all straightforward. It's going to be potentially this sort of thing, right? We're going to be potentially seeing one of these sort of scenarios. Now, Daily. Let's look at our daily. The daily is far more in agreement with the rest of the time frame. So basically, we're looking and seeing that 4 hours is a bit of an outlier, and that's why, in my humble opinion, we're about to see far more of a bearish trend, but rather than bullish, because this 4 hourly trend, as you can see, we always say, look at the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture saying in the community? We highlight the importance of that. And so, yeah, basically what you can see, the bigger picture here is also bearish and haven't even yet penetrated overbought territory. So it's rather weak bullish. It's rather weak bullish and objectively bearish right now, giving away how the D is dominant. Basically, our red line, one that represents the dominance of the bearish momentum, or rather loss of bullish momentum, giving way to how this looks into Friday. If I'm correct, in Friday will look a little bit more bearish. This will look according, basically even more bearish, even more so, maybe even take an angle to the downside and highlight how we're now entering a bearish trend. Here we're basically about to fall off a cliff. This is one of the major things we've been highlighting and waiting for. We have here all the makings of a completion of an internal cycle. Those who are familiar know exactly what I'm talking about. Shout out to you, the Academy students. By the way, you know what? Before I continue, a quick commercial break, if you will. This video is sponsored by Greg's Academy. Join the one-on-one. You'll get a lifetime supply of meetings. I'm just kidding. Had to do that. One-on-one meetings. But no joke. You really do get, if you do go through the one-on-one academy, to which I have only 2 spots left out of 10 spots. Basically, all other 8 spots are taken right now. So there are only 2 spots. The original value of the academy, just to be clear here, is $10,000. Yes, the value of this academy and what I teach, in fact, arguably it's far more valuable than just $10,000. That's the original price, but right now, if you will, it is at $3,500. And I highly recommend joining, because the more you wait, the more you miss out on understanding the true path and the true sort of structure of what the market and where the market is doing, where it's going, why, how, cyclicality, all of the above. As you can see sort of on the screen, you have just some of the things that I teach in the academy, in the one-on-one. It's done just like tutoring with your, how you get a math tutor for your kid, and that tutor would teach your kid one-on-one. We do it via Discord. We have one-on-one meetings. It's me, you, and me sharing screen, showing you exactly all the details, going into the sort of the nitty-gritty, explaining how and why things work the way they do. Of course, guiding you through the process. It's not just a bunch of videos that you watch. No, it's one-on-one, interactive, proper one, at least once a week meetings. So that is pretty awesome, and I don't think you'll get that anywhere else. As far as I know, you'll not find that sort of service and that quality of knowledge anywhere else, and I'm goddamn serious. And we have actually, just to sort of highlight and to be maybe a little bit braggish about it, what I'm going to do here is bring on screen my Discord. So you can see this is the Discord server. And yeah, we have plenty of channels. In fact, you can see some of our members right now already hanging out for 5 hours. Yeah, you can see 5 hours. They're talking to each other and helping each other and sort of guiding each other and whatnot. Just talking about whatever comes to mind. So as you can see, we have casual chat, market talk, tickers, all sorts of cool channels that you can share, your mind depending on what it is. Academy, of course, partition that involves all sorts of things. The Academy meetings, the members meetings, the members exclusive content that is ad-free, and all sorts of other cool things. But I'm going to just highlight the testimonials where people sort of show and brag. This is one of our members who made almost 200K in a month, for example, using my methodologies. In fact, this member right now, I'll brag for him, he's in the thousands of percents of ROI right now, and using, again, the very methodologies that I taught him. And again, as you can see, plenty of really nice reviews and sort of recommendations about the Academy. I highly recommend you join the crew, and you'll know exactly what they know and know why it's so valuable, demystifying, and all sorts of wonderful terminologies that explain what it is that I really do. Yeah, that is it. That's the Discord. Of course, join in. To join the Discord, you go right here. You go to Patreon, patreon.com/investory. Then you go become a member, and you can get a discount, a 20% discount if you pay annually. So instead of $30 a month, it's $24, and you'll get insight to all my positions, all wonderful stuff, which sort of brings me to my next point. A lot of people don't know, but my community just handled a trade, if you will, that took up roughly, although it seems like 2 months, but really we've closed it far earlier than, and I actually made a live about it the other day. Just the other day we made a live talking about it. You see, 100% plug complete. It's already been 6 days since we spoke about it. In my case, it's I think actually I ended up with 140% ROI, although we have members who ended up with 300 and anywhere in between, basically that 130% ROI within roughly a month on a trade on plug. It's a hydrogen energy play basically, and we're not done with it. We're just done with the current leg of that trade, if you will. And of course, you'll have to join the community to be in the know. In the community, I don't just share my opinions and all that. I share, I'm completely transparent with the members. That means I even show my portfolio completely openly, what it is that I own, when am I selling. I'm sort of, I was warning throughout that day everyone, as you can see, so the change and everything here up to speed, up to date. Yeah, so as you can see, we have Charting 101, must watch, all sorts of cool stuff in the community. Greg is live. Indeed I am. Casey, thank you very much. Casey, you are a goddamn beautiful legend. What would I do without my community members? Unfortunately, YouTube is an ass and doesn't want to let everyone know that I am live, and so for some reason people get notified also late, and yeah, I will do that. So thank you, Casey. Wait, is that Elrond? No, Casey, I replied to Elrond. Jesus, my God. I'm being dumb. I'm being dumb. Dumb. Casey, sorry. Apologies. Here you are. There you go. I meant you. Casey, love you much. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, let's go back. So basically the idea here is where I left off is, and the community is completely aware, we've been talking about it and I've been warning about it. This process itself got extremely prolonged. This is basically the end of the highs of the cycle that we're going to get. We're not going to get any higher than that, and that's why we're sort of seeing that deterioration and loss of momentum, and very soon it's going to start falling off a cliff. And yes, we are seeing sort of something similar in the directional change. Coincidentally, we're usually about to do that at the end of that sort of range here, right above the 80. Normally we have a convergence divergence, as you saw. How does that play right? Of course, it does look like the whole trend got extended, and I don't know what will bring it about, but we've seen cyclically, and unfortunately this tool is not also great, and I've mentioned to my members how I will start working on using other tools just for you guys to be able to see better what it is that I'm showing. In the academy I actually teach more advanced tools that do allow to see things a little bit clearer. But as you can see, basically what's happening here is that we are and have been on a downtrend all along, and basically within it, structurally, the way the cycle works, there is an internal sort of wave that happens, unfortunately, to sometimes, if you look at all cycles, really bring us higher than the previous end of the cycle. So it's a very interesting bit. In fact, you can see kind of that this is entirely a singular structure, and what we've had here is basically this, if you will, shoulder, head, shoulder, and now we're going to have the second arm right there. So the arm, shoulder, head, arm, shoulder, shoulders, arm, sorry. Shoulder right here and another arm. So that is almost representative of that actual structure, which unfortunately, yes, it is that simple. It is a ginormous head and shoulders, if you will. It's just going to look very, very weird, very wonky. You can see some of these waves, some of these impulses that will play along how the harmonic structure will look like. And so these things are visible only on larger time frames, and you have to be aware of the cyclicality. Otherwise, it will elude you. For example, just to kind of delete and clear it all up, if you can see, it's far clearer on the 12 months that we are initially in a downtrend. It's just that very same entanglement that we are mentioning on the other time frames. Unfortunately, on the 12 months, this period can be quite prolonged. And so this may take, in fact, sometimes months. But still, the direction of the cycle is always to complete down before we move into a new cycle. Hello, Johnny. Stupid YouTube with not giving me any notifications. You see, just like I said. Yep, Johnny, I know, I apologize, but don't worry. Of course, as you can see, this is recorded. It's going to stay there so you can rewatch it as many times as you want. And plus, we did cover and will cover a lot more stuff as I'm back to sort of normal, with the PC being normal and working, and it's goddamn amazing. Those who don't know, I did this BTF Back to the Future ASUS build that is completely beautiful and clean and have no cables nowhere in sight. It is absolutely gorgeous. I will maybe brag later. I'll post some pictures of how it looks like. Just imagine it's all white and with white light, and it completely has no cables on the front of it. It's all on the back, and it's invisible. So it's beautiful. It's clean. I'll brag later. Now. Yeah, I guess since I'm gonna jump off and go to the community, the academy members meeting very, very shortly, I would highlight again the grand idea here is very simple. What we're seeing is more of a deterioration of the momentum. As you can see, a break into the channel we've been moving all along within. As you can see, we have been tested for quite a while, up and down, and now we're basically at the edge of it. We're the very same resistance and slippage area that we've been before, and from here on out, potentially moving into tomorrow already, we're going to see more and more deterioration of the price action, and potentially over the following sessions into next week, moving towards 67.03. So don't don't say I didn't warn or say. In fact, this is merely the beginning, not even fully the beginning, but once we complete that flattening of the curve, we will see the beginning of the downtrend, which I will make a whole video about. We'll post it over the weekend, hopefully, how the Fed, once the Fed end up doing rate cuts very quickly, whether it's within a week, whether it's within a couple of sessions, whether it's within a month, whether it's until they cut again. Again, usually one way or another, in recessionary periods, what happens to happen with the price action very quickly is that once we go into the cutting cycle, even if not right away, if even not immediately, sometimes even in advance, you'll see that in the video. I'll highlight that. So, but basically, generally around the time of the Fed starting to cut rates, we are seeing the price actions deteriorate and break down very rapidly within the following sessions, up to a couple of months. But again, it is almost in essence inevitable. That's it, boys and girls. This is all for today. I will do more lives and more videos and more everything now that we're back to normal. I know it took me a while. I had so many adventures, whether it's my PC being sort of missing a GPU and I had to order one from abroad because the one I had to get for this build was completely missing from Israel and I couldn't get any. Or then me just, trying to fix a little something that looked just a little, maybe a little crack, tiny little crack in the wall, ended up turning out to be a ginormous crack, basically almost top to bottom within my wall here, and I had to fix it, and that took roughly about a week and a half from me. So yeah, I've had plenty of adventures, but now that everything is back to normal, I'll go back to normal scheduling. In fact, I already have started, whether it's meetings, academy members, ad-free content, all that beautiful stuff, lives, as you can see. All that is going back to normal. Join the community. Now is the time. It is still highly discounted, believe it or not. Yes, it is. The prices that you see, whether it's the academy, which will go higher within about, arguably either within the next 6 months period, or basically according to price action on the SPX. There's almost like this thing that I've said that once the SPX breaks to certain levels, I will increase the price. So of the people who were smart enough to join the academy while it was cheap, wonderful for them. Those who wanted to wait for the last second and sort of get confirmation, good for you. Now the academy is going to be slightly more expensive. You want to sort of get offended? No problem. Don't learn. It's fine. I'll be okay. I promise. Now. And yeah, again, my members were able to understand the whole trade with Plug and how some of them were able to generate up to 300+%, which I'm sure actually when I'm thinking about it was probably higher, 300+% on that Plug trade, which didn't take us longer. I mean, some of us were DCing into it, like I was, for example. I knew it will come, and I rather sort of spread my entry points throughout the period. But some of our members actually leveraged themselves using options and ended up being quite successful, making 300+%. I don't remember exactly what was the number, but 300+. Now, months ago when you mentioned how we're arriving and flattening, yes, Willie, this is why I highly recommend joining the community. You'll know that the cycle that we're looking at is a 100-year cycle. which has within itself smaller range cycles, and we are coming to a culmination of a lot of them. And yes, that process within itself can take quite a while, and I have warned that it doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. In fact, Willie, let me tell you something better. If you're trying to sort of hold my feet to the fire, let me help you. I've been saying that the market will break from from roughly around 5,800. It doesn't matter. If I am correct and we'll see the cycle complete and we will break roughly around towards 3,300, believe it or not, I'll be far more correct than I'll be wrong. And it's fine for me to sort of be far more prepared than to end up losing. You know what I mean? So I'm fine with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not upset at you at your comment at all whatsoever. I'm just reacting. That's, I completely get your comment. Mention on the curve and look at it now. Visually, yeah. Sure. Again, Willie, please, don't take my advice. If you again, this is not advice, as in fact it says. This is not financial advice. Let me remind you, right? And again, you see, to you, it's a little bit less clear what it is that I'm trying to highlight and explain that really we're forecasting. And yes, I do prefer to be out of the market rather than to experience seeing my portfolio break down 50%, and even worse than that, believe it or not. Again, the assets are not all involved with the SPX, and people have quite diversified portfolios. And given if I'm correct, and again, you need to understand, I have a whole academy of students that are aware of this cyclicality and can, make their own judgment and trade one way or another or invest one way or another. Besides me, you have quite good analysts, quite serious people, old school people who have been doing this far longer than I have. I'm in the industry only for around, like 16 years. We have people who've been doing this far longer. I'm not even talking about how Warren Buffett have been warning the vastness of the market roughly since I was roughly the same area. I suspect for the very same reasons. So again, if you think it's going to go otherwise and you think the market is going to be bullish forever, good for you. Go ahead, play it, right? I'm not going to be upset at you whatsoever. And you can still stay a member here and come and hang out and talk and whatnot. I'm just telling you the analysis that I see. And yes, the flattening of the curvature that you're talking about, you didn't apparently realize. It's almost like a tanker, a gigantic ship in the water. I hope you're familiar with the idea, the tanker, right? Big ship. So even if the captain turns the throttle completely to the left or to the right, believe it or not, that captain now can go have lunch, take a nap, come back, and the ship will still be halfway turned. So that's how it works. The process, the sheer size of the cycle, and sort of causes these angular changes to be prolonged themselves, just like I highlighted earlier in the analysis in the video itself. I said exactly how basically this process is very, very slow once we get into the larger time frames. It still is going to occur. It's just going to be so slow, and that's why I don't try to pinpoint the exact exit. By the way, again, whether you like it or not, I still have a video, in fact, a whole array of videos that using the very same methodologies, right, I was able to read the COVID bottom with a margin of error of, several cents, which you can still watch and find out how 4 to 6 months, actually, for the knowledge of 6 months in advance, you'll have to ask Tom Nash, which is a close friend of mine, which I was warning about this sort of the levels and everything back then. You can ask him. It's fine, Willie. I don't mind the criticism. I really don't. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really have to drop off because I have 10 more minutes before I have an academy meeting with my members. If you want to, now is the time to join the academy. Don't miss out on the good prices, and more so to understand before the panic sets in, and then it's going to be far more difficult to learn and understand, while between every session you're going to have a week time of downwards price action that's going to make you tear your hair off. So yeah, to each their own. There's a reason why I have over, just in the recent sort of period, over 30 members that have accomplished the academy, completed, and really are aware, and as you saw, and you can sort of see in the testimonials, some of them are making 200K a month. So I think it's fine. I think in the time being, they know how to leverage their abilities to make some chump change, if you will, in the process. So, and when the true hit comes, they'll still be far more prepared than the average trader, if you will, or investor. which are now causing themselves horrific damage by DCAing further and accelerating and making their averages far higher than they should be, and then resulting with, once the market is breaking down just a mere 10%, they already are in the red. That is not a fun thing that is about to come. That's it, boys and girls. This is it. I have to run away. I'll see you in the next live. Join the community. It's super cheap right now. Yeah, see you in the next one. Bye for now.